Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Elle. So today we are talking all about setting powders, all right? So this is something that I have really thought about this video is something that I've really thought about and really took into consideration everything I have learned along the way and all of my experience and basically using tons of powder. And so I'm hoping to provide you a great basis for the powders that I feel are best to set under eyes. Now, I'm talking more about mature under eyes or under eyes that have dryness, any kind of texture, fine lines, things of that nature. So before we get started, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and let's get started. All right, so I've thought about this video, like I said, for a long time, and it's taken me a while to make this video because sometimes I come under a lot of heat because I have a tendency to use kind of higher end products, even though I just did a whole drugstore week last week, and I hope you guys enjoyed that. But I spend money on certain things, especially for my kit. We're talking about skincare. I spend money on serums and oils and things of that nature, but I also spend money on powders. I just feel powders are something, and I'm not saying that every expensive powder is what you have to have. So yes, there are some drugstore products, some drugstore powders that are really great for setting the under eyes. I just find that in my experience that the best powders unfortunately are a higher end powder. It does take more money to make these powders so finely milled and beautiful that they sit on the skin appropriately and don't exaggerate fine lines or exaggerate dryness. Now, the one thing I will say is that when you use powders, it is super, super important to use the right amount. I hear a lot whenever people talk about like the Laura Mercier translucent powder or translucent powders in general, that they can see a white cast on the skin. Now, I'm not talking about deeper skin tones. Deeper skin tones obviously should be using either a completely invisible translucent powder, which some of them say they're translucent, but they're not, or a colored powder that is a little bit deeper in tone. I'm talking about people that use too much powder. This is the rule one. So if you feel like powder under the eyes is exaggerating your fine lines, wrinkles, dryness, try backing up off of that and really using a little bit less. When I set a face, no matter if you're oily or dry or combination or normal or whatever, I really don't use very much. And I use it strategically on a specific kind of brush. So to not confuse you guys, let's talk about, first of all, the products I feel, again, in my opinion. Please feel free to comment below. Allow everybody in our beautiful community to know your suggestions and what works great for you, because something that works great for me and my clients might not work great for you. And you know, maybe you guys have an amazing suggestion that somebody will really benefit from. So my suggestions are as follows. I'm going to start with my absolute favorite. This is going to become no shock to you. I absolutely love the Ambient light powders from Hourglass. This is in my ultimate favorite, which is diffused light. I love to use on deeper skin tones this one, which is luminous light. And then they also have one more. I don't have my palette right in front of me, but the Hourglass palette has one that's a little bit more golden undertone. And I use that and carry that in my kit religiously for deeper skin clients. Now, the reason why I like this, you're going to notice when you swatch this in the store, you're going to go like this. And you're going to say, huh, interesting. That's very, I don't see anything. Or maybe you're going to see a little bit of a luminosity to it. That is why this is going to be beautiful to set the under eyes, okay? I use this on almost every single client. I do sometimes mix it with Yes, another high-end product with my La Mer, the powder. But you have to understand, I have had these powders for so long. So you make the investment once and then you get to use it. And these powders have a very long shelf life. I mean, up to a year. So you buy this, I think it's like, I don't know, $45, something like that. But then it lasts you all year. So 45 divided by 12. So it's just, you know, up to you what you think. I mean, I use this every day and it's barely dented, and I've had this for about a year. And I use this on clients too. So I don't know. When I use this product, I use this product on a fluffy brush. This is one of my absolute favorites. I don't go without this brush to set the under eyes. This is the Featherweight Pro brush from Sephora collection in number 93. You guys are going to have to go to the store and check this out because it really has to be kind of felt to really understand what this brush is all about. The reason why I like it is because A, it's feathery, but B, it's not dense. To set the under eyes, you do not want a brush that is dense. So you do not want a brush like this. It's like densely packed. Honestly, this brush would actually be better than the other brushes. This is that Luxie 522 brush. That's why you see me using, don't worry, these brushes totally are dirty, I have to wash them, but that's why you see me using this brush. This is the MAC brush. And this is the 131 brush because it has a feathery tip to it. But this is the most beautiful brush for setting that under eye because it just deposits the right amount of product. I can't say that enough. It's all about brushes and how much you put on. So when I set my under eyes, I'll take my brush, I'll tap like this into the product, just gently, tap off excess, and then I will press just ever so slightly under that eye. Okay? That is all I do. Most mature women like myself and older than me, you're going to be super dry underneath there. You do not need to bake. Okay, so let's just get that out of there. Baking is not for us. Baking is for people that are in their teens and 20s. Yes, I've seen some beautiful people in their 30s be able to do it, but hey, I'm in my very late 30s and I cannot do it. It makes everything look so crazy and just dry out of control. Okay, so let's move on to another product that I really, really enjoy. So I also love, this is the Cover FX Translucent Powder in Translucent Light. I love this powder. This powder, if you're more oily, like kind of in the T-zone, and it kind of has a tendency to kind of break up off here, this is beautiful. I actually love this better than the Laura Mercier Translucent Powder. This is one of my favorites. This is really, really great. It's a new find for me. I also love the Velvetizer by Urban Decay. I think this is a very special powder. I've never really felt anything like this powder. It is beautiful for setting under the eyes because it is so finely milled. I also love, I like to combine powder sometimes when I go under the eye. So you remember I was doing this combination for a long time. This is the Estee Edit, what do I call that? This is the Estee Edit Flash Photo Powder. And then this obviously is the Hourglass. So I would go back and forth into these two things and it would just give a beautiful brightness and lightness under the eyes that it just was, in my opinion, really, really beautiful. Because I like to be pretty bright under the eyes. I like it to be like I'm not so tired, okay? Now, I also love to use, now we're talking about pressed powders. This is by Sephora collection. This is their Micro Smooth powder, very similar to the Max Mineralized Skin Finish. I just broke this, by the way. I'm so bummed. But they're both baked powder. So baked, obviously, we talked about it before. Bake means that once it was a liquid, then it was baked. And so it really can't give you that chalky feeling or that cakey looking feeling. But again, I don't change the brushes. I just, if I'm using a different product, this is what I do. I also love the Haze powder for my women that are more mature. I would say probably, I don't know, and super dry, maybe in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. You might really want to try this powder. Again, it's by Stellar and it's called Haze. This is a beautiful powder because it has quite a bit of luminosity to it, but it also is a blurring powder. It has a little bit of an opalescent quality to it. Definitely no shimmer. It doesn't have shimmer to it. It just has a very beautiful blurring effect to it that I haven't seen in a lot of powders. So I really, really enjoy this powder. Again, I will combine this with my Hourglass powder as well. But again, you don't have to combine. I just do because I have it here. I'll do that with foundations too, though, especially on myself and clients. I'll combine different foundations with different parts of the face. So if you have the luxury to buy a couple different powders, why not? I actually want to talk about pressed powders. This is the one from CoverGirl, Advanced Radiance Powder. This is the only drugstore makeup, drugstore powder that I have tried. And again, you guys will correct me if I'm wrong. I am sure that you will. Please let our other friends in this community know other more affordable price points that work for you. But this powder is stunning. This is the Advanced Radiance Powder by CoverGirl. I don't know what makes this so special, but it feels really soft. I've set my under eyes with this many of a times. I set my face with this. I absolutely love this powder, and the price point you cannot beat. It is such a great powder. They did a really nice job with it. I don't know how they made it this way, but wow. This is a beautiful powder. I am in 105, just so you guys know that. And then there's a lot of talk about the, you can see this is very used. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Pressed a Flawless Finish powder. And I've used this several times on myself, many times, and I've also used this on clients. I love Charlotte, so no disrespect, but I don't feel like it is anything spectacular. I don't think that it's worth the price point, and I think other things in her line are definitely more worth the price point. It's just not my jam. It doesn't feel great on the skin. It's not as hydrating as I want it to be, but it could be more for combination to oily skin. All right, so let's wrap this up. I absolutely love this powder by Makeup Forever. This is the HD powder. It does have a little bit of flashback to it, so you have to apply it very, very sparingly. I think this powder is beautiful. It is super soft. It has silica in it, so it's going to be blurring and pore refining. And honestly, I'm literally going like this. It has hardly any color to it. It's one of those powders that is really special. It has hardly any color to it. So I really, really enjoy that powder. I love it as a touch-up powder, especially kind of under the eyes throughout the day. My last kind of tidbit on the things that I do like is this Kevyn Aucoin Neo Setting Powder. Now, this is not going to be for the people that want to be more natural. I use this all the time on top of my Hourglass powder, just very little. And what it does is it gives a brightness to the under eye that I've not been able to find anywhere else. But I only use the quote-unquote matte side. I use this side as my highlighter. This powder is really kind of interesting. I just think it's gorgeous. It has no sparkles to it. It just is like a luminosity that I've never really experienced in a product. So I'll apply it so you guys can see. Where is my little brush? Here you are. So I just take it right into here, just the tip of the brush. Again, on the tip of the brush. I'm not like smashing my brush in here. I'm just taking on the tip of my brush and I'm just sweeping it right underneath that eye. I want to see if you guys can see the difference. See how much brighter this under eye is and much more smooth looking. I absolutely think this powder is something super special and not talked about enough. It does definitely give you that glow. Do you see that right there? So not a lot of you guys are going to like that, but I sometimes really do. I think it looks really fresh on the face, especially in pictures. So it'll be your call if this is like more of your style. All right, so 2 more tidbits. I am not a super fan of the Laura Mercier translucent powder or the Secret brightening under eye powder. I think it's really dry and chalky. A lot of people love this. I think this is meant for this is meant definitely more for combination to oily skin. And you can definitely use too much of this. So yes, it's a cult classic. I do carry this in my kit, but I definitely use it strategically strategically. I feel the same thing happens from the Bye Bye Pores Poreless Finish HG Micro Powder from IT Cosmetics. I do like this powder, but I love their illuminating one more. Their illuminating one is really beautiful, but I find them to be very similar. And is that it? I think that's it. Now again, this is definitely not an exhaustive list of all of the powders that every brand carries. These are just the ones that I know work really, really well and that I feel are definitely worth getting. Like if you're gonna invest in something, invest in one of these and see if this is gonna be something that's gonna work for you. My last tip is to use a setting spray. You know me, I love the Smashbox Priming Water, the Too Faced Prep and the Too Faced Hangover Spray. I have a little sample guy of the Makeup Forever Mist and Fix, the Pixie by Petra Milky Setting Mist. I love those. I just think that once everything is on, besides your mascara, and your blush and bronzer doesn't have to be on, but your foundation, your concealer, your powder, giving it a good spritz is going to really melt all of the powders into your skin and make it look like one, okay? I just feel like those steps are going to be really important when we're talking about setting that under eye. Now, again, for the whole face, of course, but the under eyes is what we're talking about. All of these powders we've talked about are not my go-tos for my face. They're the go-tos for my under eyes and my clients as well. I will put a link to a video, which I also have some tips for setting the under eyes or setting the face, which is taking a beauty blender, applying a little bit of setting spray to it while you apply your concealer with the beauty blender, kind of pushing in the setting spray with your concealer. You might want to try that if you are completely opposed to powder. If you are completely opposed to powder, apply your concealer like this, wherever you apply it. Take your beauty blender, put a setting spray. Now, if you're brave, use like an all-nighter or something like that, but that has like a lot of alcohol in it, so you have to be careful around the eye area. But if you're brave, more power to you. I like to use the Makeup Forever spray or the Smashbox spray. And then what I do is I just get my beauty blender a little bit wet, just a tiny bit wet, and then I push in my concealer with that beauty blender that has the setting spray on it, and it really kind of makes it go into the skin, it sets it, and this really does work very well with a setting spray that is more of a setting spray, like with alcohol in it. So just be careful. Use it sparingly. I already warned you, has alcohol in it, just be careful. I have done it many, many times. It just, it just needs to be taken very gently, and don't douse your beauty blender in it, just a couple squirts, and that's all you need. So I hope that this helps. I hope that this clears some of those questions up. And again, these are just the tried and true products that work for me and I carry in my kit and are my personal vanity every day. If you have any other questions, feel free to comment below. I'll be more than happy to answer them as soon as I possibly can. And again, if you have more products that have worked for you, please share it with our community so we can all benefit from your experiences. And again, I'm so glad you guys were here with me on this one, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. Lots of love from me to you. Mwah. Bye, you guys. All right, you stayed to the end. This is becoming a theme lately. I want to chat about prep for the under eyes before you're setting them with powders. It is really, really, really important to make sure that you're using an eye cream. I don't know how many people I talk to that are like, no, I don't use an eye cream, only at night. No, eye creams are day and night, whether you're using an eye cream and an eye serum or an oil or whatever that is. Just make sure that the eye area, especially for more mature eyes, it needs to be well hydrated, or else you're going to get creasing and cracking and all sorts of weirdness under the eyes no matter what you do or how little product you use. So make sure you're really using an effective eye cream before you put your concealer on or your foundation and your powder. powder. Also, letting the skincare sink in about 2 or 3 minutes before you apply your concealer and foundation is really fantastic to let everything kind of sink in, let everything kind of do what it's going to do. And also another tidbit is whenever you put your concealer on, I don't usually set like right away. I let the concealer kind of sit for a second. I want to make sure that I haven't put on too much, and I just kind of start to bounce that beauty blender around or my finger to really make sure that the product is kind of a second skin, and then you can go ahead and put your powders in. All right, my last tip for my special people that stayed to the end, make sure you are using tapping motions when applying the powder. Do not use sweeping motions because that will take that concealer right off and it'll make that powder streak and it'll just be a mess. So whenever you have your brush, just take it in tapping motions. And then once you feel like it's really nice and set, then of course you can kind of just do one of these guys. Okay? But you need to make sure that the powder is packed in nicely, and less is more. All right, thanks you guys again. See you soon.